All right. So we're welcoming back Jizzy Pearl. Jizzy, this is your third time, not including the Christmas appearance.
I know. Third. I hope I get it right this time.
So, I was thinking, Jizzy, when I first asked you to be on the show, I thought this could be tricky because you're not exactly the guy who likes to come on and, shoot the shit and morning radio coffee talk and things like that. But you were up for it, and you've got product to sell, and so you came on. But since your last appearance, Jizzy, you've become a media darling. All of a sudden,
I'm quite the media sensation, aren't I?
You are. I see you on big podcasts, small podcasts, people broadcasting from their kitchen, from their basement, their closet. Yeah. You've been on the Uncle Floyd show. It feels like Wally George, Sally Jesse Raphael.
Wow, you're going back.
Morton Downey Jr. All of them, and the whole point of it is to get the word out about the book, which is right there in my hands. Oh, right there in my hands.
Yeah.
All the Devils. And Jizzy, you don't disappoint. I want to point out, I also listened to your upcoming record this morning, Hell California, which comes out March 11th on Golden Robot Records. And you are consistent in your career. If you're a fan of Jizzy Pearl or you're a fan of love-hate music, then, I'm not saying you're doing the same thing, but you give people what they've grown to expect.
Well, I mean, I think it, good songs, good record, good performances. You know what I mean? It's just, at the end of the day, because nobody sells records anymore like they used to. At the end of the day, all you have is your performance, and you're as good as your last lay, And so I strive to put out records, that still kick ass.
Jizzy, one of the things I never hear you talk about is age. You keep yourself in shape. You keep yourself active. You take things serious. If you want to learn something like your new YouTube channel, you're active in working on it. Same thing with CDs and books. You're very serious about the process you do. And like you said, you could sit back and just tour as, Jizzy Pearl of Love Hate. You could just go sing the Quiet Riot songs if you wanted to. But I feel like there's always this desire for you to keep producing new material.
I don't know. I guess it's that old school vaudeville sense of how the old school dancers, Gene Kelly used to practice for hours, and Fred Astaire. And somebody asked me about that the other day, and they go, "Oh, you sound so good, you sing so good. How do you do it?" And I go, the trick is to make it look easy when you're not really seeing the hours of work that goes into it, like the cardio and the rehearsal, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, that's, and that's what those old school performers used to do. I mean, it was their whole life. I mean, to be able to be as good as they could be, in this YouTube generation, and I just don't understand how people can't have that same sort of ethic, because those YouTubes are forever, and there's some pretty bad ones out there. You know what I mean? And I mean, I would just hate, it would be in my book, it's like I'm in the Rodney King beating video, and I'm one of the cops. You know what I mean? How can you just get away from that? And so I guess maybe that's part of it too, is always wanting to keep it up. You know what I mean? Because music does keep you young. It really does.
One of the things that I enjoy talking to you the most is your analogies. You always have the best analogies of things. And that's what's great about reading your book. And so you talk about this old style ethic. And in your book, you give really great references. You talk about how Einstein had a pair of clothes for every day of the week. And if it worked for Einstein, it should work for everybody. Van Gogh sold one painting.
Yeah.
This shows you where your mind is at as far as these old school legends.
Well, it's just it gets tougher and tougher. A lot of our peers aren't doing well. You know what I mean? And some of them are passing on and stuff. And so it's just, I feel like it's incumbent upon guys like me that are still sort of carrying the torch of classic rock to be as good as you can be, and don't shit on it. You know, don't shit on the gig, because it's all you have at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And it's a great luxury. It's a great privilege to be able to perform and do what we do and get paid for it. You know what I mean? Most people don't get to do that. They don't, you know, they don't get to make a living off of music.
And after last year, the last 2 years, you may have been wondering if you were going to get to do that again.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it's always touch and go, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing is I canceled my English tour because of the stuff that was going on, and all of a sudden they just opened up. I mean, but you don't know that, you know what I mean? And so I can't scramble to try and do that. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. I had to cancel it.
Yeah. And, but let's hope that it starts to pick up. There's a lot of dates, but let's start with the book. You got so much new stuff. Let's start with the book, All the Devils. So what I think that people will enjoy about the book is that it still has your, the Jizzy Pearl fantasy where sometimes you can't tell if this is real or fiction, or a composite of stuff that might be real and fiction together. It still has the stuff that the first 3 books had. But I think this time, Jizzy, I think there's more, you know, fans always want you to write a bio or a rock tell-all kind of book. And I think this time you give a little bit more of that dirt that fans want to hear. You tell stories about bands that you've worked with, bands you toured. And what I love, Jizzy, is I love the celebrities that you've come in contact with. It's such an amazing variety. The Hervé Villechaize story, which you told on the show in our first interview,
which was spawned on your.
People should go back and listen to it. It's incredible. But so you have characters like that, and then you have great stories about being high at backstage at the Forum and sitting at dinner with Mr. T in the prime of him being Mr. T.
I mean, you can't even, maybe you can, maybe you can remember, but that was when he wore all the gold chains. Mm-hmm. I mean, 50 gold chains, gold bracelets, drank from a golden goblet. He was just, it was over the top. And I'm sitting next to him, just stoned as usual. And it's just, to be scolded at a dinner table by Clubber Lang was
one of the guys in Love Hate had a connection to Jerry Buss and the Lakers, right?
Yeah. And so we were able to go not only to all the Laker games, which is great, but we were able to go to the Forum Club, which was the place to be, you know what I mean, for concerts and stuff like that. And we would just hang with the rock stars. I mean, we would pretend to be rock stars, but we weren't, you know. And in the book, I talk about how I nursed the same beer for 4 hours, you know, just like leaning up against a post trying to act cool. But I mean, you know, it was good times.
I love your observation in these stories, and also in general in life. You and I talk about what's going on with tours and other bands, and the observations are always funny. But I love this Robin Crosby story in the book, and I want you to tell it. A fan comes up to Robin; he's so excited to see him at the Forum.
I Robin Crosby's coming towards me in a hallway, and this fan comes up to him, and they had just released that Reach for the Sky record, and the guy comes, he goes, "Oh man, I really love that new record." And Robin just kind of looks at me and he goes, "It's a piece of shit." And just the fan was crushed. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, just who says that? Mm-hmm. And he really meant it. I mean, he wasn't, you know, effing around. And then I'm sitting at the bar, and another guy, rock star, is just talking, and there's a girl in the conversation, and he just, you know what? I really could use a blowjob right now. And I just couldn't, you know, and the girl didn't do anything. I mean, it didn't faze her. I'm thinking, why aren't you slapping his face? Why aren't you, you know what I mean? But it just, maybe he did it to just kind of, you know, impress me. Like, this is what rock stars can do. They can just do this stuff, and mere mortals cannot. You know what I'm saying?
That that sounds like it could be the case.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who it was afterwards.
Yeah, I was going to say afterwards. You tell me. I want to guess. Was it a singer, by the way?
No.
Okay, interesting. Well, the audience will have to guess, but I'm going to find out. But this, one of the things about the book is you do blend these different worlds, though, because you do have what was going on at that time, which was a different lifestyle, way before political correctness and cancel culture. But then you also talk about a little bit of what your life is now, which is and I only know Jim. I don't really know the King Jizzo so well. The party guy, and the book divides the two.
Yeah, the beast, the beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
When I read the stories, and some of these I know from just knowing you, I'm shocked because it doesn't seem like the guy I know who at 10 o'clock says, I got to get home and get to bed,
Yeah.
Or I got to watch the History Channel and then go to bed.
Part of it was, and I say this, is that we were all doing it, the guys and girls, rock guys, rock girls, back in the day. Everybody was acting out. If you've seen The Dirt, that's basically what we all did. We stayed up all night. We got high. We got laid. We walked home in our gig clothes at 6 a.m. You know what I mean? Banged on the door. The girlfriend let us in. You know what I mean? The fights, the screaming. I mean, just all that kind of stuff. But we all did it because it was stuff that what needed to be done. You know what I mean? Everybody was acting out the hammer of the gods because it was okay to do so.
Yeah, and I always look back now and you see bands get back together who which members can, and you think it was actually a pretty short time. That amount of time where you guys had that hammer of the gods and rock stars and everything was crazy was really a few years. There was a lot of years before you get signed, but when it actually hits, it only lasts so long. And then there's all those years where everyone goes their own way.
Of oblivion. Yeah, that's when everyone turns into Civil War reenactors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I heard Greg Steele say from Faster Pussycat, he was on VH1, and he said it's like being in a twister, and your house gets picked up and it's spun around. It's the craziest thing ever, and then just throws you right back where you are as if nothing happened.
Well, for me, it was 3 or 4 years of chaos and fun and joy and mayhem, and you think this is going to be the rest of your life, and you're opening up for Ozzy and ACD, all the huge stars, and then it's over, and then you're just thinking, what just happened? You know what I mean? Now what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Here's grunge, Green Day's here, Korn is here, everyone's playing 7-string guitars now. The musical landscape entirely changes. It's like what happened with disco, when disco became immediately uncool overnight. And then the Bee Gees just said, well, we'll just write for other people and we'll go live in our mansions of gold, but what do guys like I do? What do we do? Well, we wait for rock to come back. Mm-hmm. And it did come back, and it's still coming back. You know what I mean? And so you just have to keep yourself ready to go.
As far as rock coming back goes, I feel like we're in another one of those upswings, and the bands that were able to keep it together are going to benefit from it. And so, for people who want to know more about how Love Hate began and LA Guns and Rat and all these things, it's in our first interview. I'm going to put that link in the description. So for people who want all that information, it's in that interview. But and I think most people know that you're the singer for Quiet Riot right now, and that lineup is forming some consistency right now. You got Rudy Sarzo back in the band, and I think that's added, a lot of new excitement.
It's added a lot, obviously. People, yeah. Well, and I say this all the time, is a lot of people that are musicians and they get older, they don't look the same as they did back when you saw them in the videos. I mean, most people don't, let's face it. Time munches on. But when people see Quiet Riot with Rudy, they're going to see the Rudy that they know, because he looks exactly the same. I mean, you talk about me, he's totally ageless, you know, and he still plays great, and he still does all the stuff, you know what I mean, all the moves. And yeah, I think if you're a fan of the Quiet Riot music and the legacy and stuff, I think that people would get a kick out of seeing, you know, Rudy playing those songs again. And it's fun to watch.
And younger people who never had the chance, you know, especially to see him playing Quiet Riot music. You know, he hadn't been in Quiet Riot for, I don't know, you know, 15 years or so. And so, maybe more. So I think that a lot of people get to see, you know, to see the legend. I think sometimes we may take it for granted. I've seen Quiet Riot play a million times, but there are people who never had the opportunity to see that mental health lineup. And now
Yeah.
to see Rudy on the stage, I think it's exciting. I think it's fun.
Well, it's, you know, in this 2022 world where everything's, you know, not exciting, it's something, you know, it's something. And if people want to go see it, then they should go see it. You know what I mean? Because, you know, people are on the side of the stage watching Rudy all the time. You know, because it takes you back. You know what I mean? It takes you back. It's an iconic thing to go back and see those videos and stuff like that. And not many people can still pull it off this many years later, you know, and so it's something.
I think we all took a lot for granted. You know, I remember a gig you were playing with Steven Adler at a place called the Boston Bar and Grill. It's no longer there. And Kevin DuBrow came and got on stage and jammed a few songs. And he, you know, he was around in Vegas. I have a message from him. He was going to play with the Sin City Sinners a week before he passed. You know, he was a part of that Vegas. And I think a lot of people took it for granted. Then someone like that passes away, and you realize that the Quiet Riot legacy, you know, it for a little while is in turmoil. What do you do? And then Frankie did his best to sort of bring it back and run that business. And now it goes into this direction with Rudy. But I think, like I said, people took it for granted. Oh, yeah, Kevin DuBrow will come out and jam. Well, now he's gone.
Well, I think that, I mean, the Who are playing, I guess this summer. I mean, they're in their 70s. I mean, how much longer can you possibly go see Roger Daltrey? You know, I mean, he still looks okay, but I mean, he's, you know, he's not the guy. He's not the Baba O'Reilly guy that he used to be. Let's face it. I mean, he's 75 years old, you know, and it's just, as we all get older and our Rolling Stones and our Scorpions and everybody, we all start getting older, it just gets harder and harder and harder to fulfill what fans want, which is to hear the music that they remember, you know, accurately in their head. And it's just, yeah,
that's why I urge people to go out and see these bands that they love. Don't take it for granted. Don't think you'll see them next time. By the time this airs, Friday, you and I will be at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. A really fun bill, Quiet Riot, Slaughter, and Stephen Pearcy. But there will be a lot of flights, you know what I mean? Yeah. And a lot of flight delays and airports and ground transportation to make a show like that happen. I think people will have to understand it's not like the old days where you hop on the bus and you go to the next city. No, you're going from your home to this venue, from your home to this venue, and it's a lot of work. And so, you know, definitely support the bands that you love. That particular show is a kind of a fun show because you're playing on the same bill as Stephen Pearcy. You were the singer for RATT for around 8 years. Does it feel like an odd thing to you?
No, it doesn't. I was always a fan of the music, and I've said this before, that when I was singing for RATT, Stephen never disparaged me in the press, you know, which I thought was very, you know, nice, very, you know, gentlemanly of the guy. And I never did to him, you know what I mean? And so when I left the band and he came back, we were able to shake hands and be friends. And we've hung out a bunch of times, you know, late at night at Vamped or something like that at 3 or 4 in the morning, bending each other's ear and stuff like that. And he's just, yeah, I mean, you know him. Once you crack the exterior, I mean, he's just a really nice guy and really approachable. And, you know, and he wrote all those great songs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's fun. I mean, I think if you're a Rat fan, it's a fun bill. And yeah, he doesn't hold grudges, and you were doing a job. And what can you do? You know, you're doing. That's what those guys were doing. If he was mad at somebody, it would be, you know, Bob and Warren.
Well,
And
it's just work, man. It's not personal. It's business. You know, what we do is a business. What you do is a business. People, you got to separate the fantasy of what you think a band is in your head from what it really is now, which is basically working, making money. You're lucky to be working. You're lucky to be making money in this climate. You know what I mean? And it's just once you realize that, I think you can appreciate it more because you realize that everybody's out there and we're all doing it for the right reasons. You know what I mean? We're not doing it for beer and chicks. We're not doing it to be rock stars. We're doing it because we enjoy it and it's our passion, and it's because we love it.
when you look at some of your former bands, LA Guns, Rat, you've got to sometimes tell yourself this Quiet Riot thing's not so bad.
Well, you know, I enjoyed playing in LA Guns because the music is fun. You know, it's something about the music. It's sleazy and it's street, but it's fun to play. You know what I mean? Goofy sex action, you know, whatever. But it's fun rock to play. And Tracy's a great guitar player, and he's great to bounce off of on stage. You know what I mean? He's like one of those guys. And you know, I mean, everybody has their time in a band, which is kind of like the honeymoon period, which is the best time, and everyone has fun, and then for whatever reason, after a couple of years, like in Rat, it just became not fun anymore, and so it was time to go.
Well, and some of the bands that you were in have had extreme personalities. I mean, there's different lineups, different problems. And so I feel like Quiet Riot, I joked about it in our first interview that I said, I don't think you have to worry about the singer coming back. Obviously, Kevin DuBrow has passed away.
Yeah.
But I think that there is some consistency now. I know people talk about Carlos Cavazzo, and it's just not meant to be. You know, they're
And
not,
you know,
he wasn't.
he's just it's. Can you imagine him getting on a plane and getting up at 4 in the morning and just he doesn't want to hassle it. I mean, I think
Yeah.
you know some of it at least is he just doesn't. He's got a great life and he digs his life and he's comfortable, and why would he want to jump on the gypsy caravan again? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just,
I think, you know, he makes no secret of it that him and Frankie had some issues over things, and when Frankie passed, they weren't ultimately they weren't friendly, and so it's just not something. I know a lot of fans. Well, where the hell is he? That should be the whole lineup. Sometimes what a fan wants isn't always what's best for the business or best for the band, and it's not always possible. I think people are fortunate to have Rudy. Quiet Riot fans are an interesting group. They get very temperamental about who's the original lineup, and they fight. And it's, to me, the Metal Health lineup is the lineup that we know. The Japanese
right.
records, we don't really know them. No disrespect to Kelly Garney or obviously Randy Rhoads, but I think we started knowing
I
and
just
loving.
think people. I think maybe there's some people out there that are purists,
Mm.
but I just think a lot of that stuff is just people talking shit. You know what I mean? They don't really care, you know, deeply about the original Quiet Riot versus this
Right.
Quiet Riot versus this. I just feel like they're just shit talking because Quiet Riot, you know what I mean? They went through like a lot, like when Motley went through their clothing outfit changes and stuff with the shoulder boards, and you
Mm-hmm.
know something about the 80s brings out people's, they like to poke fun, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, at the goofy costumes and stuff, but hey, you were all wearing those costumes in those striped spandex pants too, you know what I mean, back then.
Yeah. I think it's, you know, I think people got to get used to it. This is what's out there. Enjoy this music. Enjoy the chance to see it, and relive a little bit or reminisce or get used to something that might be new. So I think, but look, this we're in a world full of trolls. This YouTube video will have a million trolls. Jizzy, I feel like you are definitely a misunderstood person. There are people who will tell me, "Oh, I met that Jizzy, and he's such an asshole." And I will say, I just don't think you know him, because you are a very nice guy and a polite guy. I don't think you're in the mood to talk with people who want to get drunk and close talk your face and fall on you. And
plus, you know what? I mean, being married has helped a lot. Keep my keeping my shittiness at bay. Um, it's the truth. I mean, I just don't like to put up with certain aspects. You know what I mean? I'm sober now. I've been sober almost 4 years. So yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't want to go to bars because why would I want to? Why would I want to be around people that are wasted? If I was wasted, you know, and drinking, it would be more fun. But if you're sober, and any sober person will tell you, it's totally the opposite of fun. It's
you lose
just
your mind.
as hell. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I just think that a lot of times it's not wanting to deal with nonsense. Like when you go to like I've been doing this for 32 years professionally. I've actually professional for 32 years. And when you show up at a gig and the crew doesn't have their shit together, it's annoying. It would be like if I was a professional athlete and I showed up and you know, stuff wasn't handled. You know what I mean? And it'd be the same thing. You would just be annoyed because you're used to a certain level of professionalism. You feel that you've earned it, having put in all this time and years and stuff. And so, you know, you expect people to not, your sound man not to be drunk at 2 in the afternoon. You know what I mean? You expect that everyone has the same level of professionalism as you. And if they don't, that's when, you know, I can get a little testy for sure. But I think everybody's like that.
Yeah, and I don't think that people understand that sort of what you said. You're doing this every day. You're traveling with people sometimes who are a pain in the ass. You know, that happens too. And then you get to somewhere, it might be unorganized, and it's rinse and repeat over and over and over again. And sometimes you may catch someone at a bad time. And you don't strike me as being much of a fanboy of things. You know, like some fans are really hardcore fans and they collect things and autographs, and it doesn't strike me necessarily as your world. And so a fan might read that as, oh, well, he's standoffish, but I don't think it's the case.
You know what it is? If you saw the Rush movie, how Neil Peart talks about why he doesn't do meet and greets and stuff, he's very honest about it. He's very shy, and he feels uncomfortable. And I've gotten to the point where I used to not be able to, I would go to the bank and I'd be in line at the bank and somebody wanted an autograph and I thought that they were effing with me. I didn't get that they really wanted it. I thought that you're putting one over on me. You know what I mean? In my head. And so when people come up to me, I'm a little bit better at accepting kind of the compliment stuff. It used to make me uncomfortable, and maybe that's part of what could have been, you know, misconstrued as having attitude, because some guys love to talk about themselves 24/7. Some guys just their favorite subject. But for me, it's just about having a great skill set and doing what I do and having fun with it. But I don't take it too seriously. I don't take myself too seriously, you know, as a writer and as a singer, composer, whatever. I take myself very seriously, but I don't take the rock star nonsense seriously at all. And so I think with age, I've been able to come to terms when people really dig you. Like when I went up to Brian May from Queen, I mean, I just started to babble like a chimpanzee. You know what I mean? I couldn't handle it. And he was being very gracious, you know, and because you could just tell that he knew that I knew that he knew that I knew, you know. So I guess it just, anyway, that's the long answer to your.
Yes. Yeah, that's your way of saying I'm not an asshole. You just don't get it.
Yes, yes.
I want to make sure.
Please subscribe to the channel.
I want to make sure that people know to go to jizzypearl.net. Who's got jizzypearl.com?
Jizzy Pearl, somebody that's trying to charge me money, they're squatting on the site. I get these
Amazing.
emails. Aren't you interested in jizzypearl.com? You know, I have to buy it off you, you weirdo. You know, no
You,
thanks. No
yeah,
thanks. Yeah, jizzypearl.net for the book, and jpearl TV is my YouTube site, which
yeah.
you
So we're gonna,
perused
Jizzy, let's
last
get to that
night.
in 1 second. I want to make sure we point out there's not a ton of these left. By the time I get you, we're down to the last few books. These books are signed and numbered. I have number 56 out of 350. So are there maybe 100 left?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. And
So
again, yeah, people say that and they go, well, just print more. You know, I just, okay, I'll just go right to the money tree. You know, this costs a lot of money. This is it costs money. You know what I mean? I take a risk when I buy books and I print books. I printed all these books, and it's, you know, thousands of dollars, and you know, I'm not King Midas,
they
and
take up space too.
yeah, and I'm going to print up X number of books, and I'm going to sell them and keep some for myself. And when they're done, they're done.
Spoken word anytime, Jizzy?
Nah, nah.
I
You
feel like
know,
you would be great at it.
spoken word.
I mean, a
Yeah,
book, you know, audio book.
no, I just don't. I don't. I don't have the time or the desire to spend all that time doing that. I don't know. You know, it's just I do projects, and then once they're done, I move on to the next project. This being the YouTube channel. The book is
Yeah.
done. I'm doing the YouTube channel. I got a month off. I'll probably write songs for a new Jizzy record. You know what I mean? It's just I'm not good at spinning 4 or 5 plates at once.
Well, I also think that an audiobook may take away a little of the mystery. There's something to reading a book and going, what the fuck is he talking about? I find myself saying that quite a bit, like, and then trying to put the voice in my head of, is this a character or is this Jizzy? Whereas if you're reading it and we're hearing it, it may take away
Well, you know what?
letting your brain think about it.
It's honest. I mean, I was thinking about that. The thing about this book is that it's honest. You know, when I talk about certain things that happened in my youth or my drug experiences and stuff, I mean, they're usually funny, but they're also pretty gnarly. You know what I mean? Some of the experiences that I had and stuff like that. And so it's a heavy thing to talk about yourself on paper and give it to people, and then they're reading about you. You know what I mean? It's very personal, and a lot of stuff in this book is pretty personal shit. I mean, it's heavy.
Yeah, well, you definitely share pretty much every aspect of your life. Some of these drug stories are insane. You know, going to smoke a little bit of plants growing along the sidewalk. What is it? What did you call it?
It's called Jimson weed.
Hmm.
It's and this is a true story. It grows all along the roads, and if you go to the beach, all along the country roads, it's this stuff called Jimson weed, and it's a powerful hallucinogenic drug.
How
And
do you find that out?
and if somebody, yeah, and the disclaimer is, I didn't tell you to get it, and I didn't
Hmm.
tell you to smoke it. But yeah, when I was a kid and my neighborhood had no weed, my bright idea was, hey, you know, I heard this gets you high, and sure enough, it did. It did, but it had terrifying consequences.
Why do you think they call it dope? Yeah, the stories are incredible, and you are super honest with every aspect of your life. I recommend people check it out. There's also bundles on jizzypearl.net. So if you've missed any of the other books, you can kind of get them as a set and save some money, which is a cool thing. And they become pretty cool collector's items. For a lot of years, More Crickets Than Friends was really hard to find, and they were on eBay and they get expensive. So I think they're a cool thing to have. So now let's talk about YouTube as well. So you've got a channel, J Pearl TV. YouTube hates jizz. They hate anything to do with jizz or the word jizz.
That's one of the reasons, because I didn't want to trigger you know, the AI. I didn't want to trigger Skynet.
You don't want to make the algorithm angry. Our first interview together, they flagged it because they said it was pornographic. Once Once they review it, because then you have to request a manual review, then they realize, oh, this guy's been a singer under this name for quite some time. But anyway, J Pearl TV. So I went down the J Pearl rabbit hole last night. Luckily, it's early because otherwise I would have been up forever. But the content is just starting to come out. What's cool is, okay, so you have these Jizzy Pearl sort of monologues where you stand and you tell a story. And they're about 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and they're really funny stories with some creative editing to get the effect across. And then also, I think what's great is all your music is there. So people say, I can't find this or I can't find that. Well, it's all there and it's all free.
Yeah, that's the thing is Spotify, you have to jump through hoops to get your stuff if you're doing through different licensees and publishers and stuff. And a lot of times it's just impossible. So I just downloaded the records and they can listen to them on a playlist and stuff. Yeah, I mean, the sketch comedy is it's old school, you know what I mean? And we talked about this. You used to do the same stuff when you were doing the Sinners. You know what I mean? Kind of the quick cuts and the and stuff, and it's funny and it's humor. It's what I think is funny, and it's when I talk about some of the Hollywood stories, obviously I have to be careful and censor myself because some of them are just over the top. I mean, some of them I can't even talk about because they're so over the top. I mean, real hardcore, old school Led Zeppelin, Shark type stuff that I've seen and or participated in, you know what I mean? And you don't want to embarrass people, but at the same time, you know, you want to talk about stories because they're funny and stuff. And people love the dirt. They really do. You know that. You know, they love to hear that salacious stuff. And so it's fun for me to be able to weave a tale with the beeps and the clicks and the little quick cuts and stuff. It's kind of fun. I mean, I'm having fun with it.
The chick at the rainbow and the car and the drugs and the cops. Amazing.
Yeah, and the thing is people think that musicians' lives are like this, and they are. I mean, but you don't want to be in your 60s, you know, getting drunk, getting pulled over with a baggie of blow in your pocket. I mean, you'd be an idiot. But when you're young and you're a kid, you ride by the seat of your pants and going home from the rainbow, you know, driving down the street. Oh my God, you know, what's going to happen next? It does make for good storytelling.
The descriptions of the rainbow at 1:45 a.m. are great and very accurate. You know, people are starting to try to pair up where you're going to go for the night, where you're going to get your drugs for the night. When the lights come on, you start to look at the people you're with and wonder if you made a bad decision. You know, the Judy Garland song plays somewhere over the rainbow and your whole life goes into and then if you're a guy who's not a drug person, you might be out with somebody waiting for when is this broad going to be done with this and when is this nonsense going to be over? When are we just going to get to it? And a lot of these stories in California, now you're going to an after party and now you're going to someone's house. And then all you're thinking is, how can I get laid without this girl passing out or going to jail?
You really have to have an energy for the party, you know. And I used to have limitless energy to get it on and push the envelope nightly. I used to want to be that guy. Just Attila the Hun meets Caligula meets Conan the Destroyer. You know what I mean? And if I can't fuck, then I'm gonna fight. And if I can't fight, then I'm gonna puke. You know, and then wake up the next morning and you feel like you've got 4 nails pounded in your head, and you know, for some reason you've woken up and you've survived it, and then on to the next. You know, it's just you really got to have an energy for it. And I look back at the guy I used to be and I just think, God, that guy, even when I moved to Vegas in 2004 or 5, I mean, back at the Tailspin days, I mean, I was that guy. Because I was famous too. So I basically, you know what I mean? I was a good time all the time.
Yeah, for sure. I like that you tell the stories on the YouTube channel and give people a taste of it because it's not there anymore. I just was at the Whiskey with Stephen Piercy last week or whatever, a few days ago. Uh, it's changed. The rainbow has changed too. I mean, there's still some of it. I think there's people, Jizzy, who are trying to imitate what was. They see the dirt and they're trying to pretend. But
It's like the guys, and I said this before, you know, there were the guys like me that got the record deals, and I got mine at like at the tail end of the scene, and the guys that got the record deals did the dirty deeds and did the partying and did the records and did the tours, but the guys that came after, because they never got the big record deal, it's almost like they had to prove themselves by partying harder, and somebody bangs some chick on a bed, well, I'm going to bang her in a tree. You know what I mean? Just they had to outdo us guys in the debauchery department. You know what I mean?
yeah, Faster Pussycat comes to mind.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's definitely that second wave, and now there's even a third wave. Some of these bands have got, you had the guys who didn't make it the first time. Now you have guys who are like sort of this third wave of younger guys, and more power to them. But most of these guys who are playing in some of these bands, they weren't really even alive when love hate was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder about that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the scene would be like now, because obviously I'm from a different generation.
Right.
But I don't. I assume people still, do all the debauchery that they used to do. But see, now with Facebook and social media and stuff, it's just a different scene. Back then, before the internet, you could get away with murder. I mean, you
Yes,
could get drunk on. I mean, put it this way: there's this band called Motorcycle Boy. Do you remember them?
I know the name.
Yeah, they were really big back in the 80s, and all the chicks dug them, and they were big rock stars. Those guys drank hard. I mean, they were sloshy, you know what I mean, old school. And I just saw that they're playing somewhere now. They're
Hmm.
getting back together and they're playing somewhere. I'm just I wonder if they remember back then, you know, the guys that they used to be. Because see, when I write as a writer, I can tap into the guy from that time, and I can describe, like how Stephen King can describe a whole scene in a town, and you feel like you're there. When I talk about the Sunset Strip and stuff, people can visualize what it was like exactly. You know what I mean? The grit and the grime and the debauchery and the lipstick and the hairspray and all the good and the bad and the ugly and stuff. And so I wonder if some guy is sitting in his car with his wife and his kids going, back then I used to I just who knows.
Yeah, well, and you make a good point about the internet because I remember guys, fairly well-known guys, would just lie to a girl about their name or whatever. It wasn't if you were cheating on your wife, it wasn't going to pop up on the Metal Sledge gossip board. But
Yeah, yeah, Wikipedia sort of ruined that for everybody, didn't it?
Wikipedia, yeah, it's a whole new level. But yeah, I'm sure there's some pretty straight-laced guys saying, not only did I nailed myself to a cross over the Hollywood sign, or whatever the
Yeah,
case may be.
but and but it's all good times. That's the thing is I look at it all from the viewpoint of how lucky I was to do all the stuff and get away with murder and party with Ozzy and Angus Young and it was a good time, and it was crazy, and I got in trouble, and I got grounded, and I came back, and it's been 32 years, and here I am just still rocking and rolling and putting out material. I got a record coming out March 11th on
Golden Robot.
on your Golden Robot,
Yeah, sponsor of
label.
the channel, Golden Robot Records. So
Yeah,
that's
and so I mean, and it's a great record. I'm real happy with it, and I like it because I can put it on, I can listen to it, and I go, God, I really don't sound old. I
no,
don't I don't sound like Tex Ritter. You know what I mean?
no, not at all. like I said, if people like what you do, they're getting more of it. And I don't think it sounds dated, and it doesn't sound like it's trying. Sometimes people try to imitate what they did, and it sounds like it. Certain
Well,
bands,
parties, yeah, if you're talking about banging chicks and partying and drinking all night and you're
yeah.
in your 60s, it's just, it doesn't ring true.
I'm out of songs about fast cars and
Yeah.
women real
I mean,
fast.
it's just, if I hear something like that from a 70-year-old man, I just think, oh, come on. You know what I mean?
Yes, I think it's time. Yeah. And so your record, like I said, I heard it today, 10 songs, heavy stuff, easy subject matters, easy record to listen to. It's a lot of fun. You can go right through it. And like I said, it's heavy. I think people will enjoy it. Your voice sounds as good as ever. There are a few people who, with age, their voice gets stronger or stays strong. Yours, you would never think, oh, this is somebody. This is your fifth solo record, I believe, right?
Six.
Six. I mean, it doesn't sound like, oh boy, I'm just going to throw one of these out there and make a little money.
No, well, again, it comes back to the keeping the standard up of trying to be as good as you can be. Because at the end of the day, we don't sell records like we used to. We don't get royalty checks like we used to. And all you have is your gig. All you have, it's like a gigolo. All you have is that one lay, that one night, and you're as good as you were on that night. And that's how I treat it. I mean, when we play this weekend, I'm going to give as much as I can, 110%, you know what I mean, as will everyone in the band. And it's just because it's a testimony, you know what I mean, to how to we're not letting old age kick us in the ass.
That particular show is a 10,000 seat arena. That's not the only show that Stephen Pearcy and you will share a bill. You guys are really busy this year. You'll probably end up playing 50 or 60 shows, but
Yeah.
we'll be in Minnesota together at the Grand Hinckley thing, and then the Beaver Dam Jam, whatever that, Kentucky. I'll see you. Stephen can sell it better than I can, but Kicks and Quiet Riot and Bullet Boys. I think it's going to be a good year for those rock bands. I think if you like that music, this is the year. I want to make sure that everyone knows to go to the description to get some of the links, because we talked about a lot. The new record, All the Devils, right there. That we'll have a link for at jizzypearl.net. His new record, March 11th, comes out. It's called Hell, California, and that'll be available through Golden Robot Records. And I think wherever you can find music is where it'll be. They have great distribution. I'm sure they'll have all kinds of different versions of it. And so you get that. Quiet Riot on tour all year. JizzyPearl.net has dates. Quiet Riot's website has dates. And then also new Quiet Riot music. This is something that is going to happen, right?
Yeah. There's some in the works for sure. There's some songs that are completed. I don't know if it's going to be an EP or an LP. You know what I mean? Right now, it's we're just kind of amassing material, and we'll just see how it goes. But again, when you're touring all the time, it's hard to put time aside to compose new music. You know what I mean? It's so but there is new music for sure, and it's good.
When you sit down to write a Quiet Riot song, now obviously you take a different approach to than you were writing a Jizzy Pearl or Love Hate song.
What I do is I just search for. I sing a certain way, and I'm comfortable singing a certain way, and so I try and make the song comfortable for me. You know what I mean? And with the blues background, with the Led Zeppelin background, obviously, because that's where I come from. And I just, lyrically, I just try and keep it, keep it kind of cliche free,
Mm-hmm.
kind of keep it fresh and not quite so trod upon lyrically. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
just, again, it works out okay. I mean, I can turn a colorful phrase.
Do you have a Quiet Riot song that's your favorite to perform? I'm sure they're all fun, but maybe
I
one that you
guess
really enjoy.
the reasons I like Feel the Noise and Bang Your Head, which are the two big songs, is just because anybody perks up You know what I mean? When they hear those songs, by the time when we kick into "Come On Feel the Noise," it's fun to play because it's fun for the thousands of people. You know what I mean? And I'm sort of a lightning rod for how they feel. And so that's, you know, and when we do the Bang Your Head, it's the same thing. People just love it, and so it makes me love it too.
Yeah. No, and that makes sense. I mean, those songs when they play, everybody's young again. You know, that's
Well, and everyone, the phones come up, and you know what I mean. It's just that's, and so yeah, I mean, it is a good time to play those songs, and people dig them, and they never get tired of them, which is great. You know what I mean? It's great when you're in a band. Some bands only have one big song. Some bands only have two big songs. I mean, it's great. Some bands have no songs.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's really good to have a couple of songs that are iconic like that, that you can just pull out of your hat and know people are going to dig them.
Yeah, and these shows coming up, that show in Connecticut, it's an hour from each band. So if you're a fan, this is not one of these, oh, you get 30 minutes. Each band's going to play an hour, a lot of music, and a lot of shows you can see Quiet Riot headlining, playing their full set. So you get to hear stuff that maybe you haven't heard in quite some time. Jizzy, I want to thank you again for coming back. I'm glad that you have new product. It's great to see that you know, you made the most of the time, you know, the time that we were all sort of sequestered, so to speak.
Yeah, well, you know, and it was fun. It was fun. It was fun to write, and I like it. You know what I mean? And now it's done, and now I'm moving on to the YouTube channel and gonna write some more new songs for me. And yeah, I'm always moving on to the next project. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this year is going to be starting in May. It's going to be really, really hectic. I mean, you know, every weekend, multiple shows per weekend, and you know how much travel that is. It's a
And
lot.
you and I both live here in Las Vegas, but it seems like the kind of music that we're both involved with is bigger on the East Coast and the Midwest. And so
Midwest for
it,
sure, for
we
sure.
definitely do a
Although there
lot
is a
of.
rock community here, you know, for sure there is. But yeah, in the Midwest, I don't know. It's just it's that Bible Belt.
Mhm.
Midwest is best mentality.
Yeah, that's where a lot of these festivals are, and then these casinos that also keep this music going. Want to make sure that everyone subscribes to my channel, but also go subscribe to J Pearl TV. We got to get some subscriptions up there. We got to get you to
Yeah,
the 1,000 mark.
we gotta hustle it. We gotta hustle it.
Yeah, that's a. And listen, Jizzy, we're going to see each other in Connecticut, and I'm going to be filming my tour diary, and you'll be filming your what for your channel. We're going to be cross
We
promoting.
don't across the streams.
Mhm. We won't cross streams, but we've got to, you know, cross content. This is the new world that we've
Well,
we.
I remember talking to you about me doing a YouTube channel, and I actually asked you for your help, and you kind of helped me a little bit with how to do it and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for maybe 4 months. I don't know,
Mhm.
and you've been doing yours for like a year and change.
Yeah,
And it is it's a full-time job. It really is
I
to
think people
get the
don't see that,
content. You know, it is.
and
It isn't a joke.
it's good if you make it look easy. You know, if someone watches and goes, "Well, they were just funny and went on to talk," and that's great. But there was work that goes into it and getting it uploaded and all the things that go with getting it seen. Because, you know, you look at some of the interviews that you've done, some of them you'll see 40 people watched it. Others you'll
Right.
see 1,000 people, 4,000. Everyone has a different way of handling this, and it's a tricky thing, and it's still sort of new. I wish we could TikTok dance. We'd be much wealthier, but it's not. I'm not very good at that. I don't know about you, but
Well, I mean, you've amassed quite a bit, actually. I mean, you've gotten quite a roster and a following and stuff. You know, for me, I'm doing it. Initially, I did it to just sell my book. You know, I just thought I'm going to do all these Wayne's World level interviews and podcasts, and they're not going to do much. So, you know, maybe I'll just do it myself. Maybe I'll just pimp the book myself by doing a YouTube channel. And it's sort of become more than that. It's become a good place for my love hate music, and it's a good place for me to kind of do my thing and kind of have fun with my Hollywood stories.
Well, and I think you'll be successful because the same reason that this channel does well is I don't pull punches. It's very honest. I think the audience sees that. If I don't like someone, I say it. If I don't like a record, I say it. And I try to talk the same way that people would want to be spoken to. There are some of these guys on there who are wacky, radio DJs, and they've got their shtick, and it's more about them than who they're talking to. And maybe they don't relate. I hear a lot of guys give like music insider knowledge, but they're usually wrong. They think, I saw Eddie Trunk, who I like a lot. He was talking about how Quiet Riot, well, they got to travel with a crew and a tech and a tour manager, and that's going to cost money. I'm thinking, you have no idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe back in the old days, but
yeah, this is different. Quiet Riot,
all that
tours
stuff
with Quiet Riot.
chips away at the bottom line. You know what I mean? As you know, just even having one or two guys means plane flights, means salaries, means, you know what I mean? And we're a well-oiled machine. We don't need a whole lot of extraneous help. You know what I mean? We walk in, and if you're playing these really good places, like when we play Mohegan, everybody's pro. You know what I mean? If somebody hands you a microphone, you know that it's not going to be feeding back, and you know that you're taking
the battery's charged.
And it's killer. That's why these casinos are such a joy to play, because everybody is professional.
Always happy when you see one of those. When you go through the dates and you see a casino, you know that it's going to be a little bit easier for everybody involved, for the business and for the performers. Last thing I was going to say about YouTube, just your mind works so fast. To write a book takes a lot of time. They say it's better to have been written than to write. The actual writing is work. When it's done, it's fun to celebrate. But since you have all these stories, now you can literally go on your channel, you can film on your phone, and put out a great Jizzy story right there and reach a lot of people that fast. Whereas a book could be a few years before you can get that out.
And people, there is a lot of people that just don't like reading. You know what I mean? They dig the idea that oh, he's writing a book. Well, that's great. You know what I mean? But they're just not into it. They don't like reading, and they're not interested. And you know what I mean? It's a tough sell to some people, I suppose, for that reason. But as your boy Stephen Piercy said, this is good toilet reading. When you're sitting on the toilet and you got 5 minutes to kill, you can get through one of my stories and have a laugh. You know what I mean? And so it's just saying.
That is a good point, and it's a point I thought of earlier. I personally don't believe in reading in the bathroom. I feel like you've got a job to do. You go in and you get the job done and you get out. Reading in the bathroom is not for me. But like you said, you can pick the book up at any time and pick a story. You don't have to read the book from beginning to end. It's a lot of fun to grab a story and come back and get another story. That's the beauty of it.
And if you're taking a shit, there's shit related stuff in here.
That's true.
So
you need an index. You need an index in the back behind that handsome photo of you. You have an index, and then people could go, well, I feel like I'm going to take a shit, and then you can go to S and find it. But anyway, I recommend the book. I think people will enjoy it. JizzyPearl.net. All the links in the description. Jizzy, I'll see you this weekend. I look forward to catching up, and I look forward to seeing you. I've seen you front Quiet Riot before. I saw it on the Monsters of Rock cruise. I was skeptical. I'm sure a lot of people were. Not that you were not a great musician, but could this be interesting? Could this band survive? And it was very entertaining, and I know it will be. And it's great to see Rudy as well.
Okay, sounds good. I will see you Saturday, right? Friday?
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Jizzy.